We all remember the last meeting between the Flyers and Ducks. It was emotionally charged, and the Ducks got a little dirty. I want the Flyers to fight back tomorrow. We're going to talk about it right here on PHLY Flyers. Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me live in the Xfinity studio on this beautiful St. Patrick's Day, it is Charlie O'Connor. Chuck, is this like a mini birthday for you? I mean, your name's Charlie O'Connor. You have red hair. I went to lunch with Ava at McGillen's today, and it was basically like her mini birthday.
Okay.
Are you a big celebrator of the St. Patty's?
Not anymore. When I was in my 20s, absolutely. Not so much now. It's just work, honestly. Like, I worked basically all this past weekend. That would have been when I would have celebrated.
It is always in the final month of the season. There are often games on this day. Today, not so much. You get 2 consecutive 4 p.m. shows, and I just checked the schedule. This is the last time until the season ends you'll get 2 non-game day shows in a row from us.
Sure.
Which is absolutely hilarious the way this final month is going to go.
But no, I did find it funny that, like, I have red hair. My last name's O'Connor. I obviously have a lot of Irish heritage, and I'm wearing nothing green, and you're wearing a green Phillies hat and a green Eagles PHLY shirt.
Of course.
You dressed for the occasion.
I have my green Chucks on today, too.
But no, I'll be honest with you. Like, it's not that it lost the appeal. Like, hey, I still enjoy going out to a bar and having a good time, but it's just ever since I became a full-time beat writer and St. Patrick's Day lands in the heart of the season, I just don't celebrate it as actively as I did in my early to mid-20s when I did not have a job as a full-time beat writer.
That's fair. Charlie, the consummate professional. I had a lot to do today and still carved out an hour and a half for a couple O'Hara's Irish Stouts.
I love that for you.
Charlie,
because they don't have Guinness at McGillen's.
They do not, no. And it's still pretty festive. Before we get started, I know we've had a ton of new viewers and everything lately. Whether you're new, whether you are a diehard, whether you've been here forever, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. That's right, hit that like button because it fills us with joy. And, why not just follow PHLY Sports YouTube? So much content every single day. The Eagles, not only did they have their show today that went well over an hour, they also did an emergency pod on Anaheim Brown today. So that was a lot of fun.
We actually, William, to jump in real quick though, we have a little breaking news. Little breaking news for the Flyers. One Cole Knuble has signed his entry-level contract, which will kick in next season.
So he'll go to the AHL, presumably.
Unclear yet. I would assume that what they will probably do is they'll probably sign him to an amateur tryout contract and get him into the AHL for the rest of the season, have his entry-level contract start next season, but I don't know if that's been announced yet. I'm just assuming that's what'll happen.
If it starts next year, I just always figure that's what's going to happen, but good for Cole Knuble of Notre Dame signing his ELC on St. Patty's.
So they didn't mess that up.
Yeah, well done there.
And I like Cole Knuble. I think he is actually a again, don't take this to mean me acting like he is going to be a superstar. He is not. He does not have that kind of ceiling. But I like him as a prospect. I think he will be an NHL player. I think he's going to be a solid enough bottom sixer for the Philadelphia Flyers over the next couple of years. I believe in the skill set. He's gotten so much better as a skater. He's got good hockey sense. He works hard. Could easily see him, whether he's a 4C, whether he's more of a winger. I think he has, fourth liner, if not bottom six NHL potential. So I'm glad the Flyers locked this down. They didn't mess this up. I had been hearing for the last 2 years that this was a foregone conclusion. He was going to sign, number one, and he was going to sign at the end of his college season this year, number two. They got it done. That's good. I'm excited to see him play.
And let us not forget, not that, again, Charlie is right. Never go nuts, especially about, like, what was he, a 4th-round pick? His dad, Mike Knuble, topped out at around 15 goals and 35 points in his 20s. He himself was a 4th-round pick. Broke out with a 30-goal season at age 30, and then joined the Flyers for a few years, 25, 35 goals in, like, crazy stuff happens. Yeah. Possible. Maybe he's on the same trajectory.
He doesn't, to be clear,
does not have that size.
Doesn't have the size. Mike Knuble was obviously a big power forward, net front type guy. Cole Knuble is smaller, but Knuble's got some skills. I think he's going to be an NHL player.
I believe so as well, just based on everything I have seen and heard about him. We have a little bit of other Flyers news today. I saw on Twitter via Kevin Kurz, Charlie. Tyson Foerster on this road trip. You see him out there in the yellow jersey at practice today. My question was, is yellow the non-contact?
Yellow is indeed the non-contact.
Okay.
And this is the first time we've seen him, but we've been obviously in the locker room over, the entire season. But I would say over the last few weeks, basically since they returned from the break, we've seen a yellow jersey in Foerster's locker, which implied that he was going out there regularly skating just behind closed doors, without the media present and whatnot. I guess he wanted to go on the trip. I don't think this is saying that he's close, but he wanted to go on the trip, and they're letting him come along and skate with the team. It means he's making progress. I don't know why you would rush him back unless it gets to be early April and the Flyers are somehow, within 2 points of a playoff
They've
spot.
won 8 in a row, and it's like, we can.
Yes.
But
otherwise, I would not rush him back.
Do you think him going on the trip is, hey, my buddies are all going to Southern California, why wouldn't I go get a tan? Or
that's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, free trip, why not?
Why not?
Do you think it's that, or like, this is maybe a sign it's more likely he plays a couple games in April?
I mean, it's more likely today than it was yesterday because, practicing with the team is a sign of positive progress, to be sure. But I don't think it means that it's definitely happening. It very well could just be this is the next stage of his recovery process is skating with the team, and who doesn't want to spend a week out in California?
I wonder, like, if he is, by close, I mean, could potentially, if it meant something in the last 2 weeks of the season, be ready to go. And we talked about, if they get to like the second round, he'll be in the lineup, but otherwise they're probably not going to play him. I wonder if this could mean something for his World Championship eligibility. Like, he was on Team Canada last year. We all heard, like, Crosby gave him rave reviews. I wonder if it could mean something for that, just to get a little hockey under his belt.
I didn't even think of World Championships.
It just occurred to me.
I guess it would depend upon, does he need the break? Does he still have rehab he's got to do? And this is more just him trying to rush back. There's a lot of doctor-related things that would have to be answered for him to do that. But I wouldn't necessarily hate it, especially given the fact that he hasn't played since December.
December 1st was his last game. I think it was against the Penguins where scored that goal. A couple shifts later, tries to tee up that one-timer, and then we never saw him again.
Yeah.
On the ice in a game. We have actually seen him now, but
sure.
It's not a bad sign. That's the positive I'm going to take out of it. One of the guys we think has the highest possible ceiling or highest possible trade value, whatever, for this current iteration of the Flyers is on the ice. That means like he didn't need the arm removed or anything. So that's cool. We actually saw him live and in person. Let's talk now about the thing I am most excited to talk about, Charlie.
Okay.
Tomorrow's game.
Okay.
Flyers, Ducks,
right?
Out
the rematch
out in Anaheim. The Philadelphia Flyers are 3-0 against the Ducks since Cutter Gauthier joined the team.
Okay.
Cutter scored his first goal in his career against the Flyers in that January 6th game, and then the Flyers went on to just destroy them. But that game got a little contentious, Chuck. We saw early on Bobby Brink got chicken winged by Jansen Harkins, and then Cates fights him, gets an instigator. The Ross Johnston off the bench blindsiding Jamie Drysdale. He got kicked out for that.
I still think that was a dirty play.
It was extremely dirty. Hathaway and Gudas fight after they both like had a couple hits along the boards, and then they're just like, F it, let's go. Gudas is right now suspended for his deliberate knee to Auston Matthews. He gets 5 games for that. So Radko won't be.
Sure.
Yeah, Radko at what, 35, 36? He's still Radko. Jacob Trouba with that, like, I don't know, phenomenal forearm style elbow to 5'0" Denver Barkey that didn't even knock Barkey out of the game. Guess Trouba's lost his fastball a little bit. Gudas got called for elbow and Cates later. There's 65 total PIMs in the game. And of course, that first career goal against the Flyers Cutter scored was his 20th.
Yeah, it was the opening goal of the game.
And he's now at 34 goals on the season.
Yeah, he's having a really good year.
He's having a really good year.
Do we really have to spend?
We don't.
Yes.
We're going to spend 2 seconds
I'd rather
on it.
not go through that whole thing again.
It is what it is. You don't want to play here at the end.
Player.
I just wanted to point out Claude Giroux's 34-goal season in 17-18 is the last time a Flyer had scored that many. And no Flyer has eclipsed that mark since Hartnell's 37 in 11-12. He's the last one to score 35 plus.
Yeah, and he's probably going to blast past that.
One would think. They are, I believe, also at 66 games. Lot of time left. So he is having one hell of a season. The Flyers drafted him 5th overall because they thought he would score a lot of goals, and he does. The reason I talk about all this, Charlie, is these meetings, going back to especially that first one in Philly a year ago, very, very emotional, very contentious. We all remember the still of Travis Konechny last year, just looking up at Cutter going, I'll fight you right effing now. Like it was, and then they came into Philly this year, I think, with the mindset, they took a lot of liberties in that game. We're not going to let that happen. They kind of let their guy hang in that game. They didn't play particularly well. They didn't really answer the bell when the whole stadium is chanting F you Cutter.
Right.
And it was a little maybe embarrassing for Cutter, and they came into Philly this last time, despite the loss, with the mindset, we're going to be physical and try to stir S up, and they absolutely did. Couple of fights, lots of PIMs. I want chaos tomorrow night, Chuck. If you are going to make me watch a team that is, in all likelihood, out of it, have a 10 p.m. Wednesday night puck drop, I want to see madness. For a little retribution for their actions back on January the 6th. So my question, Charlie, why else would Garrett Wilson be up in the NHL if not to be the Nick Delorier replacement for a game just like this? Now, listen. Gudas is suspended. Bobby Brink no longer here. But there's a lot of other stuff that popped off. Let us not forget the Ross Johnston play. Like you just said, he takes out one of your top defensemen on just blindside dirtiness. Why else would the Phantoms and Foerster be up here?
Well, I think there are other reasons why he's up here, and I can go into why. But look, if they played Garrett Wilson on Wednesday night to serve as like a just in case things get out of hand, I'm on the bench type of guy, that's fine. I don't see an issue with that. But I don't think they signed him to the contract and they called him up solely for this purpose. My understanding of why Garrett Wilson was signed to an NHL contract and why he's up with the team, it's a couple things. Number one, he's been the captain of the Phantoms for years, but that goes beyond just having the C. My understanding is that Garrett Wilson has basically been like the mentor for all of the young prospects that actually matter down in Lehigh Valley for a couple of years now. I spoke to Alex Bump after he got called up. He raved about the impact of Garrett Wilson. Denver Barkey did the same thing. So there are guys that he has helped, and I think part of the giving him an NHL contract was a little bit of a reward. It was them rewarding a guy who they feel like has done a lot behind closed doors for the long-term success of the organization. And it's a big race. I mean, you give a guy an NHL contract, that's a lot more in terms of real money.
No, you go from 5 to 6 figures.
Yeah. However, just by giving him the NHL contract, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to call him up. They could have just given him the raise, had him on a normal contract, and had him on a one-way contract where he gets paid that kind of money regardless for the rest of the year, and then never called him up and just said, hey, gave you an extra like couple $100,000. That's cool. They called him up, I think, because it does make them feel better. And again, this goes back to the whole Delorier thing. And people would yell at me like, well, why is Delorier on this roster? I'm like, look, if I was making the roster, I probably would not have Nick Delorier on the roster. Actually, let me remove probably. I would not have had Nick Delorier on the roster. But it makes the people at the top, Jonesy, Danny, all of the old heads that are still involved in the organization, it just makes them feel better about being part of the Philadelphia Flyers when they have that one guy who, if they had to, they could dress and send him out there and he could beat up pretty much anybody. And I really just think it's as simple as just makes everybody in that organization feel better to have Garrett Wilson on the team. Now, if he's on the team, you might as well give him a couple games, and this would be a logical game to do it. Now, the lines that they ran today in Anaheim did not have Garrett Wilson on a line. Doesn't necessarily mean that they won't change tomorrow when they have the morning skate, but I'm just saying, I think it goes beyond like, well, we called Garrett Wilson up because we're playing Anaheim and we got to have him. Like, I don't think it's that simple. There's more going on here. But if they play Garrett Wilson in the game, I'm fine with it.
Now, to me, you said let's have him on the, like, why not have him on the bench as the just-in-case guy? The Anaheim Ducks are currently leading the Pacific Division. They have 77 points in 67 games for a .575 points percentage. Very funny what's going on in the Pacific Division. Like, the Flyers would be in a playoff spot if they were in that division. Or I don't know. But just saying, based on their record, they're only behind the Ducks a little bit. Yeah. The Ducks have a lot to lose in this game. The Philadelphia Flyers do not. This is not a just-in-case situation for me. I want them to be the instigators the way the Ducks were the instigators when they came in here.
Okay.
I know that the players on the team, the coaching staff, everyone is operating under the assumption that the games still count, we're still trying, we're still in it, whatever. I get that. But in reality, I think a game like that, the type of game I am calling for, can do more for the culture than any stupid, meaningless win in March of a season where you're not going to make the freaking playoffs. Look no further than this year's breakout team, the Buffalo Sabres. What was all the talk of hockey last week? Tampa, they see Buffalo coming, so they're going to try to push them around. And what happened? Buffalo said, no, you're not. And that game became an S show. I want the Flyers to turn this game into an S show. And based on the lines, now maybe they're not trying to tip their hand, but based on the lines that I saw Jackie Spiegel tweet, neither Wilson nor Hathaway skated in practice. It's Grundstrom and Glendening getting that fourth line role. And also Noah Juleson, who I want to see in the lineup tomorrow, not out there either. I want to see Wilson, Seeler, Juleson, Hathaway, and Grebenkin run a freaking muck in this game.
Okay, so here's my thing. And I'm not necessarily saying that I would have a major issue if the Flyers try to, assert themselves physically in this game. But I find it hard to accept your sincerity here of the like, well, I think it's the best thing for the culture and they're going to be a better team if they S this game up, when in reality you just want this to happen because you find this fun.
Yes. I will not deny that this is for my own personal entertainment.
I'm just saying. But so don't wrap it up in like, actually it's good for the team. Like, no, it's good for William Matz. That's fine. Just acknowledge that.
The way I lay out an outline, remember how you did outlines in school?
Yes.
Where it's like, okay, well, here's A, and then here's, Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, A is entertain Bill because he's got to watch this crap. 100%. Subset. I look at how Florida, like Tampa, would come in and absolutely push those super skilled Panthers teams around. And you know what the Panthers did? Said no more. And now the Panthers, despite this season, because they've gone to 3 straight cups and they're real hurt, played in the 4 Nations, Olympics, all this stuff.
Sure.
They'll be right back there next year. They are the class of the NHL up until basically this season for the last 3 years. You look at Buffalo, same situation. I do think there could be more benefits to this than just entertaining the hell out of me for a 10 p.m. puck drop against freaking Southern California team that I wouldn't care less about otherwise if it wasn't for Cutter Gauthier. I do think there are actual benefits to doing it this way based on the lineup. Rick Tocchet, come on, man. This is your kind of hockey. 100 points, 200 pims, that was your thing. You were a power forward in every sense of the word. Turn this into an 80s game. What are we doing, Rick? Come on. Tell the boys go out there and take someone's head off. I just think there are benefits beyond the entertainment value. But yes, I want to watch a freaking brawl game. Also, last time, let us not forget, 2004. Flyers go to Game 7 of an Eastern Conference Final. What happened a month before that? They brawled with the Sens, the team that had been their nemesis for the 3 years leading up to that. There are tangible benefits beyond, I want to drink some beers for a 10 p.m. game and watch some dudes get bloody.
All right, here's my only major issue with this this idea. And it's actually a decently sized issue. Look, I'll do it. I'm just, it's my job. You know what the thing with big fighting games is? They're long. They're really long. Like, there's a chance if this turns into a brawl game that we're going to get done our post-game show.
2 a.m.
No. I'm thinking, because normal game goes 2.5 hours. Yeah. So we're talking 12:30 normal ending. Like, there's a chance that we're not going to be done our post-game show until 2:33 if this is a brawl game.
If it's that kind of game, I don't have a problem with it.
I do. I want to sleep.
Well, we don't have a game till 10:30 the next day. It's fine.
Yeah, but I'm going to have to wake up the next morning and write my article about the game, because there's no way I'm going to be able to do a post-game show, then stay up until 5 a.m. and write an article.
Here's what you do for your post-game article.
Okay.
You go to hockeyfights.com. You copy the link to all the videos. Mm-hmm. You embed them in WordPress. You go to bed.
Okay.
The end. Okay. Charlie's work is done for the night. That will do more freaking hits than whatever observations about this stupid ass game we have to watch anyway.
Okay.
You know I love your writing, Chuck. I would never denigrate your writing.
You're not denigrating.
I'm saying that would probably do some traffic.
Maybe. All right. Do we have to do breaks?
We really have to get to a break.
We have to get to a break.
On the other side, we are going to talk about why the future might be bright and Jonesy's comments this morning on the 97.5 Morning Show about the rebuild. Stay tuned for that after these 2 minutes. At Bet365, they know the only thing better than winning bets with your money is winning bets with theirs. And there's never been a better time to do just that than right now. Thanks to their Bet $10 and get $365 promo available to every single new Bet365 user. All you have to do is sign up, make a $10 bet, and win or lose, you'll be given $365 in bonus bets, because it never hurts to have a little extra cheese or bread or onions. And now, Philly fans, thanks to Bet365 early payout offer, leaving early has never been safer. If the team you're riding goes up 10 at any point in the game, Bet365 will pay your bet out right there on the spot. Bet365, where winning is everything. Download the app today. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Please gamble responsibly. Must be present in PA. $10 minimum deposit required. Bonus bet wager excluded from returns. New customers only. 21 plus. Time limits, minimum odds, and T's and C's apply. In-app only. Void where prohibited. Do we really want Matvei Michkov playing goalie? No, it's not worth the risk, the time, or the money. It doesn't make sense. You want to keep your stars focused on what they do best, and the same applies to your business. For small and mid-sized businesses competing with bigger companies, it isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter. With competition heating up, you can't afford to fall behind. AI goes way beyond ChatGPT, and it gets overwhelming fast. That's why having a trusted guide like Togo matters. Togo streamlines your operations by handling customer service, accounting, order management, logistics, admin, data entry, and even complex multi-step processes without the cost of building it all in-house. And every engagement with Togo starts with free process mapping, and Togo doesn't bill a dime until the real work begins. Programs start as low as $1,000 a month and are built to scale without breaking the bank. Visit harnesstogo.com and mention PHLY for a free operational assessment. Welcome back. I see we have about 300 live right now. 82 likes, really good number for the first third or so of the show, but not enough.
Hit the like button.
That like button.
Got a blast past 100.
Leave us some comments as well. Chuck, before we move on to Jonesy's comments, since I mentioned the Gudas suspension, that has kind of been the talk of hockey the last couple of days.
It has.
Knee to knee, pretty blatant. Auston Matthews, season over, one of the stars of the league. Captain of the gold medal team USA, captain of the Leafs. What do you think about 5 games for that?
I think he deserved more. I do think he deserved more, especially given the fact that he does have a history. The one thing I wanted to say, though, about Radko Gudas, though, in the lead up to this game is, I'm bummed that we're not going to see him in this game against the Flyers, and I will tell you why. Because the Flyers are maybe the one team that we wouldn't have to worry about Radko Gudas, because it seems like Radko Gudas has a thing about injuring top-line centers. He injures Sidney Crosby in the Olympics. He injures Auston Matthews right after the Olympics. You can't injure a top-line center if the team you're playing has no top-line centers.
You know,
we would have been
Charlie,
safe.
You make a great point. Just thinking about, especially even say this team were to make the playoffs, how the best players get targeted. Good luck. Good luck figuring out who to target. We're going to dump it on Feeler every time. Like, all right, fine. That's really good.
No, I thought it was a reckless hit by Gudas.
Yeah.
Whether there was intent to injure, I can't put myself in his head. But he's injured guys regularly in the past, and I think this probably was a good time too. At the very least, he should have got an in-person hearing. Give them the opportunity to give him over 5 games. They give him the phone hearing. They max out on the maximum number of games you can give with the phone hearing. I would have been fine with anywhere in like the 6 to 10 range.
Basically the way it works, if you give a guy 6 or more, that is when the appeals process isn't just to Bettman.
Yeah, it's true.
You appeal to Bettman, and then he obviously goes, no, I employ this guy to hand out suspensions, and he said 6, so it's going to be 6. Then, if it's 6 or more, you can go to an independent arbiter, and they always knock them
They
down.
wanted to avoid that, basically.
You avoid it, you stop wasting everyone's time and go, listen, the process is clearly flawed. Like, as bad as the Malkin thing was, like, it didn't end anyone's season.
Yeah.
And this is, knee to knee. It is hard, like, the intent to injure idea. It's like, I don't know, how do we legislate what's in people's heads, especially in a very fast, never-ending movement sport? But if you lead with your knee on another guy, you're probably going to hurt him pretty bad. And 5 games doesn't seem like quite enough. All right. It is now time for The Future is Bright, presented by Shady Rays. That's right. Shady Rays is back. And Charlie, the guy giving us reason to believe the future is bright, it's Keith Jones, because he said so, damn it.
Hey, I mean, if he said it, then it must be bright.
Why wouldn't it be true? Why would he lie? He's got no reason to.
No, he doesn't have a vested interest in the success of this whole thing, and also keeping his job.
Yeah. We're doing a bad job.
We're doing so bad. Please fire me, Comcast.
Poorly. So Jonesy is on the 97.5 morning show. I believe it was today with...
No, I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Okay, yesterday. I don't know what day it is. He's on there with Kincaid and Salchunas, and he has a few quotes I think are worth getting into on today's program, Charlie.
Sure.
The first...
Interesting quotes, to be sure.
The president of the team is speaking. Granted, it's on a rights holders station, but he's still speaking. Yeah. So the first group of quotes are about the phase and I guess effectiveness, speed of the rebuild.
People took this one real well.
Of course they did. The thing I wanted to mostly highlight here is Keith Jones saying, I think we would all love to rush it and make it happen quicker, but that's not the way it is in the environment we're in today. One of the things that we're really happy about is we are alleviating a lot of the cap pressure that we have had in the past. Talks about the deals for Ryan Ellis, Cam Atkinson, Kevin Hayes, all that money coming off the books. He says, I'm really excited about that, and that one of the objectives Danny and I had when we took over was to clean up the books so that it was on its way, and I'm very encouraged about that. Now, before we get to the second part of this quote, I think we all realize rebuilds take a while.
Mm-hmm.
It is going at a slower pace than many would hope because, like, we want to watch good hockey, but rebuilds take a while. My question about that, though, Chuck, then why... This is a lot like Gaudreau just doesn't fit our timeline. Like, you know what? He didn't. But then, like, Risto and Sanheim didn't either. Why is Dvorak here for 5 years? Why did you sign a goalie who's 28, 29 years old if we're not there yet?
Well, I guess this is where you get into the debate on, can a rebuild include actual steady progress, or does it have to be either you tank or you win, one of the two? They signed Dvorak. I actually had a conversation with somebody on social media about this yesterday, about Dvorak, because there was a post think it was by Flyers Nation, where Flyers Nation basically was like, and the organization said that they believe they're a playoff team this year, and now they're not, and that's infuriating. And I was like, they never really said that you're kind of making stuff up there.
It's sloppy summary.
It's actually outright untrue. I was in the room in September when I straight up asked them, like, okay, is this it's only a successful year if we make the playoffs? Is that the year we're in? And they're like, no, we want to make progress. We want to be better than we were last year. They were the 4th worst team in the league last year. They picked 6th, but they were the 4th worst team by record. We want to make progress, but we can consider it a successful year if we are a better team but don't make the playoffs. That can still be a success. And even as recently as early January when they signed Dvorak to that contract, Danny Briere was asked, like, so is this now playoffs or bust? And he's like, no, we're not going to go out and buy at the deadline. We'd like to make the playoffs. We want to see where we're at, but that's not all that matters for the season. So that was never said. But what I'm getting into is I responded and I basically made the point that they never really said that. They never promised the playoffs. If you are creating in your head this idea they promised the playoffs this year, you're making that up. It was never a thing. And it kind of went down the road of, okay, well, they might not have said that they thought they were going to make the playoffs, but isn't the Dvorak signing proof that that's actually what they felt? Why would you sign Dvorak if you didn't think you were a playoff team? And my answer is I don't really think that was the reason. And it's an explanation that a lot of people find it difficult to accept because, again, a lot of the people who find it the most difficult to accept are people who basically view it as, well, if you're not a playoff team, you should be tanking. It's one of those two things. They signed Dvorak because they looked at the situation in terms of the upcoming free agent class and the upcoming trade class, and they were like, okay, if we lose Dvorak in free agency or we trade him and then we don't bring him back, we are going to want to get a center from somewhere else because we do not want our centers to be like, Trevor Zegras isn't really a center in our minds. Sean Couturier, Noah Cates is Noah Cates, and like, that's it. Okay, then what? We re-sign Rodrigo Robles to be a 3C. No, we're going to want to get somebody to plug in because we think it's important for our young wingers to have competent center play. And they looked at it and they're like, okay, well, all the free agents are gone. Nick Schmaltz also signed, by the way, over the last week. Yep. So he's gone too. And I think they probably assumed that. All the free agents are gone. And if we're going to trade for somebody, we're probably just going to end up, like, let's say they traded Dvorak at the deadline for a first-round pick, a late first-round pick. Then they were probably going to end up having to trade that late first-round pick this summer for a Dvorak-ish center anyway. So their view was, if this is a hole we want to fill, because we want to have competent center play over the next 2-3 years to help our wingers develop and hopefully, get some playoff experience over these next couple years, then maybe it's just better just to keep the guy we know who fits in the room and we like. That was why. It wasn't because it was like, well, we got to sign him because we're going to make the playoffs. That wasn't really the thought process behind it.
And to that point, we talked about what the potential price for a Robert Thomas was. The Blues are looking for a package similar to the one that Minnesota gave up for Quinn Hughes. Robert Thomas is a 1C in this league, but he is not the best at his position the way Quinn Hughes is. Now, listen, he's signed for longer term, and it's going to be a pretty reasonable deal.
It's a good contract.
But for quality of player, you are giving up a whole hell of a lot. And if you have a guy, I'm not saying Dvorak is Robert Thomas, but you need more. Yeah, they need a 1C. They also need a 2 and a 4. Like we talked about this yesterday. Right. The one that they have that I'm confident in is Dvorak. And right now he's their 1C. It's really hard to find these guys. Centers of any level. Like whether it's star, pretty good, decent, like it's just really hard. They found one, and it's a lot like the thinking of Travis Konechny. Hey, in 2 years, we're going to be looking for a Travis Konechny. And so they kept him. You can agree or disagree, but I can understand that line of thinking, even if it's not like necessarily my line.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to, again, and this is what everything goes back to when we're debating the rebuild. It's the tank versus not tank thing. Because if you're a supporter of tanking, your view is, well, obviously you don't re-sign Dvorak because, like, what happens if you don't re-sign Dvorak is you get worse. And getting worse is good because that means you get higher draft picks. It's the same thing with Konechny. It's like, well, yeah, Like, the argument for keeping Konechny is, well, what are you going to do if you don't have Travis Konechny? You're going to be a worse team. And if you support a tank, your response is, yeah, that's the point. I want the team to be worse so we get more top 5 picks and then get better over the long term. And that's just going to remain the disconnect. Like, that's going to, it's a debate that's never going to end, because the Flyers look at it as, we want to be slow and steady progress and become a first-round playoff team first, and then make trades, and then become a second-round playoff team, and then our prospects, as Jonesy mentions, our prospects become what we expect them to become, and then we become a better team, and then we make more big trades. Like, they want the slow and steady progress, and that's the way they're doing it. I understand why other fans are like, sure, no, I want the Anaheim way, where it's like, we're real bad for a while, and then suddenly one year all the guys get good, we hire a Joel Quenneville level coach, and then boom, we make the playoffs.
We're going to talk a little about some of maybe other Anaheim guys tomorrow, probably in post-game.
Okay.
Because stuff's happening. But that is, we're going to talk way more about Keith Jones on the other side, but I got to get the show a little bit back on track. Lots more of the Jonesy quotes and other stuff to come. Stay tuned through these 2 minutes. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? Well, that's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together. Wi-Fi that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And Wi-Fi that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's already online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part, there's no annual contracts and no hidden fees. And Xfinity's best equipment is always included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only, restrictions apply, and as always, let's go Flyers. You know, tax season is funny because it's one of the only times all year people actually look at their full financial picture. You see what you made, what you spent, what you saved, and sometimes you're left thinking, where did it all go? Well, now you can simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It helps you see exactly where your money's going and where something like a tax refund can actually make the biggest impact, whether that's paying down some debt or building up your savings. What I like is that Monarch actually helps you stay proactive. Their AI Insights tool highlights spending trends and patterns you might miss, and their weekly recap keeps you updated on things like spending spikes, changes in your net worth, or upcoming expenses. So achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes your money management simple. Use code PHLY at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PHLY. And remember, let's go Flyers. Absolutely no reason we can't get to 200 likes in the next 22 or so minutes. All right, Charlie. So the other part of this quote about the pace of the rebuild and the after cleaning up the books, which was a huge part of it. Man, time flat circle. That was Ron Hextall's first job. They have.
By the end of this,
season,
it's all coming off.
July 1st, the things really open up. Jonesy says, the other part of it was to add younger talent and to accumulate draft picks, and we're starting to put those picks into play, allowing the players enough time to fully develop, not to rush them, but to watch them grow and hope that our assessment of where they will end up in the future align, and they'll end up being a big part of the franchise as we move forward. Those things, I think, are all in a very good place, and I'm really excited about the future. So that's kind of my side of where things sit now, opposed to when we took over. I believe this connects to the first part in my question about, all right, well, then why keep a guy like Dvorak? The answer is, you know what a lot of these prospects are, whether they're borderline prime age guys like a Foerster or actual prospects like Martone, Michkov, who's somewhere in the middle there. They need centers. It's really hard to assess just how good a winger is without a center. A lot of this year, I'm watching Owen Tippett, and I'm like, yeah, the stats aren't where I'd like them, but imagine if his center was like a 3/4 of a point a game kind of guy.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
They don't have that, but I'm just saying, imagine if that to me is kind of where these things line. We got a whole lot of wingers we're trying to figure out. Denver Barkey, how good is he actually? Is he a good third liner? Can he be a good second liner? You know, you need the combination of the two to figure that out, I think, is their point here.
Yeah. I mean, the big part of the second, did we put the second part of the quote up yet?
Yes.
Okay. So the big part of the second quote for me, and I do think, again, this is a disconnect between how the front office sees the situation and how a lot of fans do. And then again, I get it. Fans are looking at, top prospect lists. They're looking at elite prospects and seeing that Jack Nesbitt only has, a point per game in his draft +1. And they're like, oh God, he's not very good. We didn't like that pick when it was made, and he's not doing anything to change our minds. The part that jumps out at me is where he talks about and hope that our assessment of where they will end up in the future, and by they meaning the young players, prospects that they've drafted, where they will end up in the future align, and they'll end up being a big part of the franchise as we move forward. I think just what it boils down to is like Jonesy and Danny and the scouting department, like they aren't looking at guys like Luchenko, and we'll talk about Luchenko in our extra video. Luchenko, Nesbitt, the second round picks they took this past year. Like they're not looking at those guys as if they're lost causes, which is kind of the sense I get from a lot of people, a lot of fans that I talk to, that a lot of the big prospect fans are looking at someone like Luchenko and looking at someone like Nesbitt and being like, they suck. They're not blue chip prospects. It was late last week and Jackie Spiegel put something and some people jumped on her because I think like in the interview that Danny talked about like the assets that the team has, and somebody was like, well, what assets do they really have? And it's like, I don't know, like, yeah, Martone's a blue chip asset in terms of prospects, but it's not like only the blue chip prospects have value. Like other prospects have value too. I feel like there has been a little bit of a turn towards like, well, if the prospect isn't blue chip, he doesn't matter. I mean, Oliver Bonk has value. Jack Nesbitt has value. Luchenko will have some value. I just think it's part of the disconnect where Jonesy's looking at these prospects like Nesbitt and Luchenko and Bonk and guys like that and being like, yeah, we believed in them when we drafted them. And we believe that they are going to eventually, if developed correctly, are going to develop into legitimately good NHL players that are part of this. And a lot of fans are looking at those guys and basically being like, yeah, they don't matter. They're not stars. I think, and that's just a disconnect. And we'll ultimately see who's proven right over the long term.
Certainly. I also look at a guy like Oliver Bonk, Charlie, and you look at the overall stat line, 5 goals, 16 points in 34 games for the Phantoms. He had the slow start, comes in December. His first game was, December 6th. It's like, all right, he's looking okay if you just look at the stat line. You also take into account, okay, the huge numbers he put up in London, probably not who he is.
Yeah, probably not.
Also, though, 0 points in his first 8 games in the AHL. So he has put up these 16 points, whatever 34 minus 8 is. Like, it becomes a little bit more acceptable. Like, he might be a little further along after he got his feet wet his first year pro, missing all this time with injury. He started to accumulate some numbers the way we were hoping for. Maybe not expecting, but man, if he could add a little offense to the game like he did in the OHL, that would really be something. He has considerably since he went without a point in his first 8. Not saying he's good or bad. I have no freaking idea, but there is like this idea of letting them develop and not rushing them. Like if you see the first 8 games ago, he doesn't have a freaking assist yet. Bum. All right, we'll give him more. Let him get to double-digit games first. Like there is a little bit of that. The interesting stuff here, though, the next part of this, Charlie, on Rick Tocchet. People are gonna be super pumped about these quotes. I think Rick has done a really good job of trying to implement his philosophy, his defensive style of coaching, and try to bring it to an entirely new team, a new group of players, and with a group of players who in some cases are very young. I do think there's challenges that come with that, but overall, I think he's done a really good job. We can get to the rest of this in a second, but I don't want to be like, no, he stinks. I will say, we just did a whole show yesterday on like, I don't know, does his system even work for scoring in the NHL? We saw a period from mid-November till January 6th, where they were averaging well over 3 goals a game. They're like 8th or 9th in the league in scoring in that time. Now, it has since very much dried up, and they have trouble cracking 2 a lot of nights now. The fact that they are back to, however, at least being the goal and chance denying team that they were, maybe provides a little hope that it just takes more than a year. And Rick Tocchet really credits like that first year in Vancouver where he coached, the final 36 games. Everyone gets a little jump start into his system. And then the following year, yes, as we talked about yesterday, outstanding goaltending, whole bunch of guys converting at a really high rate. But they had a jump start in the system and were able to then take that and build on it. Maybe it takes more than 66 games. That is my hope. That
it's the only hope you can have.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they just are never going to score.
After this first full season, we have mastered the defense now. Time to add the offensive element. That's what I'm taking from this. Like, whole new team, whole bunch of guys with a new coach, a lot of young dudes, guys in and out of the lineup. You basically replace Brink, who, good third-line NHL player with Barkey. Who knows? We'll see. There's a lot of that. Michkov in year 2, he's never really even been coached before. John Tortorella said as much. I do think there might be something to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're definitely good defensively. That's undeniable. I think even the biggest detractors of Rick Tocchet would acknowledge that they grade out quite well defensively.
100%.
Can they improve offensively? Again, we're just talking in circles here. I don't freaking know.
I know. I'm just trying to look at these quotes and see where we can take some positivity. He once again brings up the 6-week period and says, I look where we're at, and obviously without a major hiccup for about a 6-week period, we're talking about a team that, with where we're at in our growth, isn't quite there yet, would have been sitting in a much higher place in the standings above some really good hockey teams. I think he's done a really good job of grinding out wins, but obviously there's going to be bumps along the way in that process also. So I'm quite pleased with Rick. I look forward to seeing what happens in the future.
Here's the thing. What's he going to say, guys? What the hell is he going to say?
And there is also...
He's going to be like, nah, this coach sucks. We're going to fire him in 2 weeks. No, of course he's not going to say that.
No. I do think there is, though, a little kernel of truth in there. They have shown quite a bit of an improvement. Now, a lot of it can be attributed to the goaltending, but I think they have shown quite a bit of improvement, and we talked about it. It's a 15-game stretch. Game 42 up until the Olympic break, they won 3 out of 15. Other than that, they've won at a decent clip this year for a young team that we all know isn't good enough. Yeah. They are not good enough. So the fact that Tocchet can maybe coach a team to above its level, yes, if you are a tanker, you're like, well, that stinks. That's the worst possible thing. And listen, there's part of me that very much agrees with that mindset. I would love to have a top 10 pick this year. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But if you do get to that, hey, we're like a borderline playoff team, that could mean you are third in the division rather than wild card 2. And that's cool. That is a pretty cool place to be 2 years from now. And of course, that leads to the 2 to 3 years away jokes. But I do think there is a kernel of positivity you can take from this team clearly not good enough, but Tocchet showing he can do this bodes well for his future.
Yeah,
maybe
again,
I know
my view of this quote is, number one, what did you expect him to say? He's not going to bury his coach, even if he's frustrated with him. And I will say there's no indication that he's particularly frustrated with him, but even if he was, he's not going to go up there and say, yeah, Tocchet sucks, we're going to fire him in 2 weeks. He's not going to do it. Now, the positivity out of this for me, it's not really positivity, it's just reality, is, Rick Tocchet has improved the defense. The team is better defensively this year. Now, some of that is Vladar, but I've looked at enough numbers that tell me that no, they're actually better defensively. They've gotten better in terms of the numbers that aren't public because they're much better at protecting against backdoor goals, aside from that one stretch in January. And the private number, the public numbers, they grade out as a top 5, top 6 defensive team at 5-on-5. They have improved defensively. They are a good defensive team, bordering on great. What's going to really ultimately determine whether this works is whether they can become better offensively. And again, that's the core of this. The problem with Rick Tocchet's system, as we've seen it in year 1, is that they don't create enough shots, they don't create enough chances, and they don't score enough goals. Now, can he fix that? His track record doesn't give a ton of confidence, but also most of his track record was spent on a team in Arizona that didn't have much talent in the first place. He coached 2.5 seasons in Vancouver. One of those 2 seasons, they were legitimately good offensively. One of those seasons, they were not horrific, but not great. I'm not optimistic that this is going to turn into an offensive juggernaut. I think it's possible that he could turn this team into a middle-of-the-road offensive team. And if he does that and they stay really good defensively, that's probably enough to be a good team.
All right, on the other side, we're going to break down Jonesy's, not Coates's, Jonesy's quotes on Michkov. We might get to the Coots and leaders stuff and then take all your super chats. I'm pretty sure there's a bunch. Stay tuned through our last break. Have you ever had one of those days where you're moving nonstop and suddenly you realize you forgot to eat? Happens to me all the time, and that's why I love what Wawa is doing right now, because Wawa has $5 deals all day, and honestly, it just makes life easier. If you're starting early, you can grab the $5 big breakfast meal deal. We're talking a breakfast sandwich, a hash brown, at any size hot or iced coffee. That's a full morning win for $5, available from 5 to 11 a.m. Then later in the day, the value keeps rolling with a crispy chicken sandwich created your way, starting at just $5, and they've even got new teriyaki recipes for a limited time. It's real food, real value, and built for busy days. No planning, no overthinking. Just swing in, grab what you need, and keep it moving. Start your day strong and fuel up whenever you need with Wawa's $5 deals. Limited time, exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. Gotta have a Wawa. Sling TV is one of the most flexible ways to watch live TV, and with the college basketball tournament coming up, Sling TV gives you access to the games and more control over how and where you tune in. Check this out. Sling has flexible 1, 3, and 7-day pass options. That means instant access to live TV for the men's and women's tournaments. You can get a day pass starting at just $4.99, and Sling is celebrating the chaos that everyone loves about the tournament. They are making it more fun to root for underdogs this year. If you purchase any pass from Sling and a 12 through 16 seed makes it to the round of 16 in either the men's or women's tournament, then your next day pass is just $1. Get signed up at sling.com/underdog. If an underdog wins, then you win too. Live TV your way. Learn more at sling.com/underdog. No purchase required. To learn more and see the full rules, visit sling.com/underdog. This one last quote from Jonesy, then we'll get to all your super chats. It seems like the chat's super fired up today. I wonder why. This thing on Michkov, Jonesy says, I'm not just confident, I'm excited. I think this year has obviously been very up and down, but I can't wait for the future because I know the talent, I know the player, and I know the growth that has taken place this year. I knew it wasn't going to be a straight line, but when I watch him now and his attention to detail and the way that he has improved in his defensive play, and on top of that, now is starting to get his jump back and he's starting to make the plays that we know he's capable of making, I think it only goes up from here. So yes, the sophomore slump is real, but more importantly, during this slump, there have been some valuable things that have been added to his play. I think the future is extremely bright. Shout out Shady Rays. And I'm as excited about him today as I was the season prior and as excited as the day we drafted him. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next year.
You know what I thought was the most noteworthy thing about this answer? What didn't he mention in that answer? The thing that Rick Tocchet keeps bringing up every day.
Yeah.
No, I thought that's noteworthy though, because I think and look, this is not secret evidence that actually the Flyers have been lying and gaslighting everyone along. Matvei Michkov, I swear to you, did come to camp not in great shape. That happened. Stop pretending it didn't. But the fact that he didn't bring it up again tells me that maybe they are taking to heart this idea that, like, yeah, maybe we've been harping on this a little bit too much organizationally, at least publicly.
And the simple fact of, listen, from day one, they not only told us about his superstar upside, the talent, all the fun things he can do, the work ethic, the desire to be great, all that stuff. And then when you have an offseason in which, from the player's mouth, he said he just took a 4-month break, that comes into question.
Yeah, it does.
This being, yeah, man, listen, the scoring numbers aren't where they were. We're all very aware of that. We can all go to hockeyreference.com, see the scoring numbers, look at them versus last year and go, not a great year too. But if his overall game improves and then he gets back to the level of not just offensive production, but offensive confidence he had last year, then you have a better all-around player. No one thinks this kid's going to be a Selke winner anytime, but you have to play a little defense. Like, that is the Travis Konechny, Owen Tippett path of, dog, you got to try. You got to try to play some defense here. I know you can score. We've all seen you score. But if you play some defense, guess what that creates? More offense, especially for a rush-based player. You're going to be in the defensive zone sometimes. If you can make a play defensively and then get play going the other way, there's all them rush goals that you don't have this year that you did have last year.
Yeah, I think where I'm at still with Michkov is, let's see where he's at in camp next year. Let's see where he's at to start next season, because it's abundantly clear that there is a disconnect between player and coach. That Rick Tocchet is not particularly enthused with what he's seen from Matvei Michkov, and probably if you hook him up to a lie detector, or maybe even if you don't, he's a pretty blunt guy, he might tell you that, yeah, he doesn't see the star level potential that we all see in him. If Matvei Michkov shows up to camp in really good shape and gets off to a great start and looks quicker and everything like that, and Tocchet's still taking little pot shots at him and still using him as a third line player and still only giving him 15 minutes a night, then we got a problem. Until then, like, I'm willing to just be like, yep, sophomore slump. Let's just see how it's at next year. Because if it's still real bad next year and it's clearly not Michkov's fault, it's the coach holding the grudge, then we've got a coach problem. Yeah. Right now, I can still be like, yeah, you know, he really didn't show up to camp in great shape, and there's been confidence issues, and now he's back on the right side, so you can't even say that anymore, and he's mostly on the top power play unit. I think they've bounced it around a few games here and there, but he's got a lot of time on top power play unit, so I have less direct concerns about his usage than I did a month and a half ago. I'm willing to just say, yeah, it happens. Sometimes guys have mess sophomore years. I want to see him show up to camp next year and take a big step. And if he takes a big step and the coach still is holding the grudge, then we got a coach problem. If he gets to camp and isn't taking a big step and, you know, again, didn't have the greatest of off seasons, then it's a player problem.
Yeah, no, and if in this world where he does have the big off season that we were hoping he would have last summer, and it's suddenly, hey man, we're gonna try Foerster, Zegras, Michkov, then everything's cheese.
That'd be great.
Everything's cheery, and we're all happy, and it's good. But we just have to wait to get there to see where it goes, because they just got off on the wrong foot, and I don't know if there is. We saw it with John Tortorella. He was able to go clean slate. Travis Sanheim, guess what? You play 25 minutes a night now because you put in the work. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, there's other stuff here. You can see it. I read the whole thing on BroadStreetHockey.com. It's everywhere. You can find the rest of the quotes. Maybe we'll talk about it some other time, but let's get to your super chats. We got a decent amount. We're at 140 likes. So guess what? In the amount of time it takes us to get through these, you can easily get us to 200.
Hey. Also, I think all of these are from either JH or David Shutt.
It looks like it. Yeah, that's what it looks like from here. All right. JH leads it off with 4 Brinna laughs.
Yeah, Brinna was laughing a lot today. We were pretty funny.
I'm doing a great job. That's all that tells me. We love Brinna here. All right. Brinna had a very stressful day because of how I chose to spend my afternoon, which was maybe not the most professional, but we made it work. All right. Next one is from JH. Says, Gudas should be sent out permanently. Okay. Gudas should be out permanently.
Well, I don't think that.
He's just one of them guys, man. Like, he's just a guy who toes the line, and he's a
habitual line step.
Habitual line step. Like, that's just
steps over that line habitually.
And I think every team needs one or two of those guys. Them having him, Trouba, Ross Johnston. Like, all right, maybe that's a lot, but let us not forget the 2007-08 Flyers, back with a vengeance, was like not just a tagline. That's all I'm saying. All right, and with that, we got to hit overtime. Go to allphly.com to finish up today's show. Next one here is from David Shub. Hey, heard the Fly Boys stick up for teammates. Hey, Auston Matthews. Yeah. I'm not against it. Hey, I think I have heard enough people kind of dance around the idea. I don't think it's going to be here. That would be very surprising, but it would be very surprising if he goes anywhere. That said, I've heard enough people dance around the idea, like, there might be a conversation with Auston Matthews, like, do you just want to go play in America? Like, do you just want to get out of this situation here in Toronto where it's nonstop every single day all the time?
And also, it's just, where is that Toronto team
And also,
going?
yeah, like, we stink.
Where are they going?
It's a really good question. Doesn't seem like up. All right, next one here is David again. Did you all see me as a gorilla on the broadcast? I did it for you guys. My fiance was like, "You're not wearing that. We see who won that one." Yeah, I saw in one of our like pre-games, he said he was going to a game or two ago dressed as a gorilla.
Okay.
I did not see it on the broadcast, but I really hope other people did.
Okay.
Because if not, man, that was a waste of wearing a gorilla suit.
David,
Thank you, David, for your service.
Well done.
Next one, David again. People always say the Tippett contract is a huge value as an excuse not to trade him, but Dvorak has only one less point and plays a more important role.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things going on here. Number one, the two things that Tippett has going for him that Dvorak doesn't is, number one, Tippett's younger. That's number one. Number two, Tippett has better physical tools. So it's much easier for other teams to dream on him. You watch him. We've watched him when he has his great games. Everybody probably wants to trade for him when they see those highlights, because they're thinking, I could turn this dude into a superstar. He's awesome. I want him on my team tomorrow. So there's that, and Dvorak just isn't that guy. He's more of a meat and potatoes type player. But I do think, David, I think it's a fair point that, at least in the here and now, the Dvorak cap hit is not a big deal.
And
my concern with Dvorak cap hit has always been years 4 and 5, not years 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, and once again, at around 5.1 or whatever he is, $6 million in a few years, that's going to be the average player salary.
Yeah.
All right, next one is once again from David. Philly is starved for a star. Been since Lindros.
That's true. Although
that level star.
I think, yeah, I mean, Claude Giroux's star.
Giroux was a star level player, but he was not a face of the league.
True.
Like in a commercial with Mario and Yager and Paul Correa kind of guy.
It's true.
You know? All right. Next one is JH, mixing it up. At this rate, we're 6 to 9 years away from being 6 to 9 years away. Very nice, JH. I have said all along, I think this is going to be 2 waves. I think the first wave of this thing, Martone and Michkov, still relatively young. Sanheim, TK, kind of the drivers still. That team could maybe get you to a conference final or something, make a run or two in the playoffs, whatever. And then the Martones, the Michkovs, the Drysdales, they are the guys, along with who the hell ever else we get. Right. And that is the second wave. Whether that plays out or not, who knows? That's just how I, like, if it's going to work, that's how I see it work.
I think that's the way they envision it, because the whole, like, well, we're 2-3 years away from being 2 to 3 years away thing, like, that obviously has become a meme on social media, and it's a thing. But I guess it really just depends on what you mean by 2 to 3 years away. Like, when I say 2 to 3 years away, I'm more talking about, like, they're obviously years away from being a cup contender.
Yeah.
But I think they could make the playoffs next year.
Sure.
Like, so you're not 2 to 3 years away from being a playoff team, but I do think they're 2 to 3 years away at least in terms of, like, being a team that is discussed as a potential cup winner.
If Michkov is a 70-plus point player and they get a backup who isn't terrible, they could and very well probably would make the playoffs.
Yeah, and then you add Martone to this.
And then Martone is like, if he has a rookie year like Michkov's or better, that's a good team.
Yeah.
Or at least not a bad team.
So it comes down to what you mean by the 2 to 3 years away thing. Like, when I say 2 to 3 years away, I don't mean like, yeah, you're gonna have to wait 3 years for them to be a playoff team. Like, I look at this team and I think if they make 1 or 2 moves in the offseason, maybe get a better center and definitely get a better backup goalie, I think they could be in the playoffs next year. But I certainly don't think next year's team has any chance, barring like some, 2023, 2024 Vancouver Canucks insane shooting percentage spike of being a team that's discussed as a stealth cup contender. I don't think they have that. I don't think they have enough talent. They just don't. Hopefully in 2 to 3 years they will, but I don't think that has to mean that like everything over the next 2 to 3 years is a waste of time because they're not a cup contender. They can still be theoretically building to be a cup
There's
contender.
A lot of guys to be developed along the way. All right, and Purple Crayon closes it out, says, here's some dollars. We love the dollars. Thank you. purple crayon.
Actually, Harold. I was calling you Harold.
Yes,
Thanks,
you
Harold.
were calling him Harold around the draft last year. Who's the guy?
He was Big McQueen.
McQueen.
Big
Right.
McQueen.
Yeah. All right, and that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. We'll be back tomorrow night, pre and post, for what I hope is an absolute S show between the Flyers and Ducks. If it goes till 3 a.m., I'll be with you on post game. Don't worry. I might put Charlie to bed, but we'll absolutely have the coverage for you. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. I'm Bill. That is Charlie. Thank you to Brenna. Be excellent to each other.